on like a countdown of like 1, 2, 3, let's all individually hit record, okay? It's gonna be off a little bit, but it's okay. Alright?
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
1, 2, 3, press.
Press.
Well, you're off by like a whole second, so more work for me to do.
I know.
Great.
I pressed it earlier. I pressed it.
Wait
like
a second.
I pressed it.
Okay, what's the idea behind me saying 1, 2, 3 and you do it after me? Why'd you even do that?
Right.
Go ahead, insiders. So what are we doing? What's the point of this conversation?
So the purpose of this first podcast is literally our reaction to the show Girls Planet 999. It's been like 3 weeks, I think, since the season finale, and we've had 3 weeks to kind of like absorb and see if our thoughts have changed or if it's still the same. So I'll kind of start off with the very first one, talking about episode 12. Like, we all remember these final top 9. And see if, like, your genuine reactions to this episode, what the girls kind of been thinking, like, does Cheon really deserve first? Do these rankings make sense?
So, I'm gonna be honest here. I didn't watch the entire episode. I did watch the important part, which is when they announced like the 9 members, right? Regarding Cheon being first, as offensive as it may be to some people who like support Cheon, like, and like push her to be like number 1 in the group, I think that she didn't display enough to me personally for her to be deserving. I don't want to say deserving, but maybe like more so than the other 8 girls. Especially after that. I forget if it was episode 8 or 9.
Yeah.
When she had that really bad crack.
Yeah, when she messed up that one night she had to do.
Yeah, I mean, sure, like there's some grace in the show, right? Where like, sure, people mess up and stuff, and like I want to be empathetic of that.
Yeah.
If I wasn't empathetic, I'll be like, oh, dude, Cheon should just not even be a top 9, you know. But first is pretty high. I probably think I would place her maybe the 6 to 8 range, I think. But yeah, probably around there is my opinion regarding Cheon. Should I talk about the other members or?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
you can.
Because we start off with Mashiro first. Right?
Yeah, sure. So I came into Girls Planet 999 not really knowing Mashiro. I've heard her in passing when Dubious was like, oh, she used to be a JYP trainee, was going to be in ITZY, yeah. I think she would have done fine in ITZY. I think for me, she kind of fits like the Chae-ryung role if I had to choose. Like good at dancing, is able to like carry like a melody decently enough, you know. So like as I watched the show, I was actually pretty impressed with Mashiro. I think she's very solid, very solid. Well, makes sense given how many years she's been a trainee. But I would have been fine seeing her in ITZY. And I'm actually pretty happy for her that she made it to the top 9. Yeah.
Okay.
Dubious. Thoughts on the plot?
Okay, so for me, so this is just like this just came up to mind, but dude, they really gotta like stop like in the final episode, like holding out on the results. Like, you know, when they're like, and in 8th place, revealing 8th place. Commercial break.
Yeah.
Commercial break. I was gonna
Commercial
say.
break. In the 8th place, dude. That's why like when I was watching, I fast forward so much of it. Like it wasn't even worth like. Oh man. My first reaction is I didn't expect Shen Xiaoting and Yurina to have dropped so low. Like we saw the midweek rankings, but I literally didn't even think much about it. I was just like, oh, it's probably like, I don't know, early voters, all the mail-in votes haven't arrived yet. We gotta count all the votes, count all the votes. So I didn't expect them to be so low in the final rankings. I was sure Yurina was gonna make it.
Yeah.
I guess that's what happens when Mnet doesn't use their power.
Rake.
This is something that I guess we haven't really talked about, but I personally like the name Kep1er. I know that was revealed in the final episode, so I kind of want to talk about it. I don't really care for the one in the name, but I thought Kep1er was a cool name. We already have like a couple like space related names like Astro and Cosmic Girls, but
Yeah.
I think Kep1er is a cool name. Cheon, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'm just gonna comment real quick.
Mhm.
I agree with the one in the Kep1er name. I don't know what it is with like Mnet and wanting to add numbers into their like
Yeah,
girl group names like
yeah.
Eyes One, 101.
I think it's my favorite name out of all the like girl groups that came out of the Produce /
Like
GP
idol
series, though.
shows.
Yeah.
I think it's I think it's the most like decent name too.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's I mean, they're rebranding, they're going away from the whole like Produce like 101 / 48 / one-on-one stuff. So whatever, good for them.
Can I chime
yeah.
in one last
Yeah,
comment
go
about
ahead. Just
Taeyeon?
just keep chiming in. Yeah.
I am a believer of the theory that Chaeyoung got so many votes because people were like panic voting and like trying to offset her like mistake.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's my 2 cents on
Yeah,
it.
there's that was like the prevailing theory for the earlier Produce shows where like people were like, oh, like this is for specific like Produce 48. People were like, oh, like they were afraid Kaun wouldn't make it to final group because like people were like, oh, she's like you know a sure thing, like she'll for sure make it, and that's why like votes would go to other girls. And then when the final rankings came out, like people were like, oh, it's expected, or like they're surprised that Khan wouldn't make it, but not surprised that some of the lower ranked girls would make it. Now that was a prevailing theory that would make sense if we didn't later find out that like the rigging all happened, right? So I don't know. I think it makes sense that maybe girls like Yurina and like Shin Ting, like people assumed they were gonna make it because they were just killing the competition early on, but we'll never know. I will never know. And then like my final thoughts on Cheon was like she was like my top like 2 pick, I think, like near the end of the season. But like I had her in the top 2 just because I liked her, but I also find it kind of weird that she was first place, especially coming off of a performance where she messed up on stage. Like that was kind of weird to me. But I mean, I don't know. She's a solid pick, so I'm not mad she made it to group. I wanted her to make it in the group. I just didn't think that she would be first. That was kind of weird.
Well, considering this is the top 9, but we did all 3 of us share a common ideal top 9, which was this right here. I had shown this to you guys before.
The meme, yeah.
Yeah, the meme. But why do you guys think this one worked so well? Because this exact kind of list was shared with like the Korean public, and they really liked it.
Is top left Yeso?
Yes, that is Yeso.
Oh, okay. So just to clarify, it's Yeso, Cheon, Yujin, Yurina, Taeyeon? No, that's not Taeyeon. That's
That's the
Xing Chao.
yeah, Huang Xinchao.
okay. Huang Xingchao,
The
Shen
Chewy
Xiaoting,
lookalike. Yeah.
Kim Bora, Kim Daeyeon, and then Masha. Right?
Mashiro.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I
only 3 of them didn't make it. So it's pretty similar. It's 6 out of 9.
And just to clarify, it's Yurina, Huang Xingchao, and Bora.
Yes, that is correct.
Honestly, I'm gonna take the hot take here, and I wouldn't honestly be surprised if Yurina's situation was similar to what people say is Suyeon's situation, where like her company bought her out from the lineup. And the reason I think that's plausible is because if we look at it objectively, Yurina, aside from being in the final group, accomplished basically what she came out to do in the show, right? She showcased her talent, got immense amount of followers. She's at like around almost 600K now.
Hmm.
And she
Is
hasn't
it on
even
Instagram, you
debuted.
said? Is it
Yeah,
on Instagram?
on
Okay.
Instagram, sorry, to clarify. And she hasn't even debuted, you know.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I would have loved to have her in the group. She was my number one for like a while. Almost 4 episodes, I think. That's my take on Yurina. I think Hwang Xingqiao, I don't I have a hard time putting her above a lot of the members currently, in my opinion. Just from a talent perspective. Visually, of course, like she's very pretty. Bora, I don't know. I like her. I think she's a good leader. She showed a lot of promise, a lot of leadership capabilities, especially in like the team stages, right? But
Mhm.
she's also in Cherry Bullet, you know. So I don't know. I don't really have a too of a big opinion on her. She is good at singing though. I think she's definitely better than 8 out of the 9 girls right now. And that might be kind of spicy, but that's what I think.
To kind of clarify BM's point when you mentioned earlier that like the company might have pulled Yurina out. What we're referring to, because some people might be like, what are you even talking about? Like,
But yeah,
why would
thank
that
you for
even
the
be a thing?
clarification.
Let me clarify, because on Wikipedia, when you look up Mnet rigging manipulation stuff, there's a line. And I don't know if it's true, but just going off of that page, there's a line in there in that article that mentions companies purposely asking Mnet to take their contestants off the show, and so that's what BM's referring to when he says that maybe Yurina's company specifically maybe sent her out, let her kind of gain popularity, but at the end work with Mnet to pull her out. We don't know if that's true, but BM saying that might be.
Is that considered
reason why.
rigging in a way, or is that not?
I mean, it is. It's rigging for sure, because now, like, you might we mentioned this before, but like you might be like, oh, what about like freaking like JYP like putting Momo in twice at the end of the episode, and like, but like this is specifically rigging because people voted with real money. Whenever you voted for a girl, I think you had to pay like a certain amount. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely rigging. It's definitely illegal, and it's not what the consumer signed up for. That's for sure. Was that it for UBM? Was there anything else?
I agree that I would consider it rigging as well. I feel like anytime uh the outcome is directly affected by like an outside source,
Mm-hmm.
like a non-relevant source, I would consider that probably rigging. Um, that's why actually no, I'll save this topic for later regarding like Huening Bahiyyih.
Okay. I think my final lineup for my top 9, like my ideal 9, is actually kind of similar to this graph. I don't think I didn't have Huang Xingqiao. I instead had Surichi. And I actually did have Pora in my top 9. And yeah, like I think there's a conversation later about Chinese contestants, but
Yes,
Surichi was very good. I think she's very solid overall, rapper, vocalist, dancer. So as long as she doesn't talk about politics, I think she would make it fine with the group. But
I actually have a question.
yeah.
What was Huang Xingqiao's final ranking? Do you guys know?
she was literally the last of the 18th.
Okay, so
Shoot. Okay.
the reason I ask, and the reason I find people wanting her to be in the final lineup weird, is because she's never touched like close to top 9, right?
I remember I think she was in top 9 once.
Yeah, I think it was the second elimination round. She was number 9. She was able to get in there.
Oh, okay.
But then
So
she dropped.
Yeah, she wasn't in 9 when it really mattered though, right?
Yeah, no.
Okay. So I think that's kind of weird. Where like people want this ideal lineup with her in it, but they didn't like use her one pick on her, you know?
Yeah.
She did kind of get bad edits sometimes. Like she was just like laughing when it was supposed to be serious.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, she did. Yeah.
That was awkward.
Boy.
That was unfortunate.
But I think we had like her in this ideal lineup just because in the overall like sphere of image she fits in it. Meanwhile, like Shuichi might be like a standout. You know, it's kind of hard to flow with other girls.
Yeah.
Oh, this isn't like one of the topics we were planning on talking about. Is that okay?
Yeah,
No, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I wanted to know your guys' opinions on. So say, hypothetically, like Mnet goes into this program, right, with an idea of what kind of girl group they want,
hmm
but midway through the show, it's not working out that way. So as Mnet, do you guys think that they should just carry on through the show and just deal with like whoever ends up in the group? Or what they do now is considered like understandable, you know? Because imagine like you had a vision for a
hmm
girl group to be like a cute concept, right?
hmm
But then all the voting shows contestants such as like Puyaning or
Right,
Surichi,
Chai Bing, yeah.
Yeah.
girls who, um, as honest as I can say, aren't very well versed in more than one like genre per se, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would totally ruin like Mnet's vision of like their girl group that they're trying to debut and like they craft like songs for, right?
Yeah.
So what are your guys' opinions? I'm curious.
I think like if Mnet is a good company, right? A good company that is smart and not rigging anything, they wouldn't really have a vision first of all, because then like you're being biased, right? Because then when you're having the show, you're like, oh, let's make sure these girls shine more, because at that point, like you're kind of already having a biased look on these contestants as a person or as an entity that shouldn't be biased, right?
Mm.
But I think it'd be safer for Mnet to, you know, at least knowing the times and knowing what's kind of doing well in the industry, to have a certain vision for a group. But if they had a vision and they're not rigging anything, and let's say like Chai Bing, Surichi, like people who are better at songs are like more hard and more girl crushy or chic, like if they're killing it, like it would kind of destroy their plans, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's like a weird concept to think about. Like at that point, would like I'm a believer that I do think Mnet had somewhat of a vision, and that's why like they kind of put less emphasis on, let's say, someone like Surichi, who I think like had a good shout to make it into top 9. And then like when Chai Bing shot herself in the foot by like trying to be a leader every moment, like they were like, oh, let's highlight this so we can kind of make people understand that, or make people feel like she wouldn't be a good like member in a girl group. So that's where I stand on that matter.
I
Inside?
think, I think for me, it's like if Mnet did have a vision at the beginning, and they kind of wanted to like really stick with that. I would have done my research and like try to just get like 99 girls that fit that kind of an image.
Oh, in the application process, huh?
Right, in the application process, rather than having girls. You know, I looked through the Instagram of Chai Bing and the Weibo of like Fu Yanning, and I'm just like, these girls look hard, but I'll invite them anyway, you know? Or like, I'll invite Huening Bahiyyih because she has a, she might not make it, but she has a popular brother, you know? It's like, those are very risky moves.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, Mnet just kind of cares about money. So if these contestants prove to be popular, I think they'll choose that over like kind of like the small vision that they had at the beginning.
I think that also makes
they're
sense.
not going to be the ones producing the songs. So
I think that makes sense too, because like I think even until the end where you had like songs like Snake, like that's there. I think that was there because they're okay with maybe the final group being composed of girls that are able to carry songs like that, right?
Right.
I mean, you had like Shoot, you had Utopia, and like I forget the other one. Oh, sorry, You Plus Me Equals Love.
Me equals love.
Yeah, the best one.
But they still had Snake, so maybe that shows that Mnet was willing to actually kind of change their mind and maybe kind of go with the flow when it comes to the final group and maybe the vision of the final group.
I just think where I disagree with your point, Dubious, about Mnet, if they were like ethical and moral, they wouldn't have a vision in the first place. I think the reason why I disagree with that is because Insider mentioned it before, like ultimately it's about money, right? And when you're going to like a program like this and you're investing into a program like this with finances, you have to have some sort of vision to pitch,
Yeah.
Like, oh, like this is like kind of like the idea that we're going for, So that's why I think that it's kind of necessary to have a vision, like just as a logistical point,
I think it's safer. I think it's a better for business.
Yeah, that's why I think it's unlikely, but I'm glad that you guys expressed your opinions on like my thought though.
Yeah.
And talking about money, actually, we had probably one of the main characters of the show who wasn't even highlighted at all. But Huening Bahiyyih, her fan base, honestly, so like they did an amazing job in supporting her through. She was always at the top.
Yep.
She made it. She got the highest position at the very end. But it's clear that for some people it's going to be hard to support Kep1er just because of her. And there's also the question of like, why did Mnet put her in? Was it really just because of popularity's sake? Kind of want to get your guys' opinion. Dubious.
All right. So
this one I know is yours.
So before I like talk about like I'll say this, like at least for me, my belief, and I've mentioned this before to you guys too, but like any reason you like a K-pop idol, it's good enough for me. So like I might not like it, like the reason that you like the K-pop idol, but in like the court of law, in the realm of like K-pop, whatever reason you give, as long as it's like a genuine reason, it's good enough. So I'll never like dismiss it, right? I was looking at Bae's kind of like progression through the show, right? So she started the show at K26, episode 5, I think was when they started incorporating like viewer votes. She was K6. Episode 8 she was K8, and by 11 she was K6, back to K6, and then last episode she was K2 or second overall. So those are the facts, and then so my opinions are that for me, like throughout the show, I didn't really see a lot of growth from her. Now, like I didn't really follow her much. I'll just say that. Like I didn't really focus on her until like she started making like she started being highly ranked, and I was like, oh man, I guess the memes aren't just memes. Like they're actually real. Like there's actually a fan base out there voting for her to make her debut. So then I think that's when I started like trying to focus on her, and then that's when like Ice Cream, she performed the Ice Cream, and then like in Shoot, right? And I was like, oh, I don't think she like particularly stood out in any of the performances. Like she's not like a great singer or a great dancer. I mean, I think she has potential, but you could say that about a lot of the contestants, and like I was like, oh, maybe like I'm missing something. Like like there's girls that we know and produce that did well even though they weren't like the most talented. Like we have Sohye from Produce 101. And then we have like even Haewon to a certain point or a certain aspect, right? In Produce 48. But like they all kind of had storylines. Like Sohye had like the whole like, oh Sohye, do you really want to do this? By like the instructor, the dance instructor.
Yeah.
And then with Haewon, you had like the whole Boombayah like comeback, right? Like one for the ages stage. But like Huening Bahiyyih didn't have any of that, right? She didn't have like a storyline. So then for me, I can't think of any other reason why she made it than the fact that she's just TXT brother's sister.
Right.
And so coming back to like this idea of like what are like genuine, like what reasons are good enough to like an idol, that's a good enough reason for me. Like I don't like it, but in the court of law, that's fine. But the reason why I don't like it is because I feel like at a certain point you're liking the connection more, like the connection TXT sibling, more so than her. And that worries me because if for the people that voted for her, right? If you voted for her because of her brother and then like you have some responsibility at least to like her when she debuts. But then if your goal is to get her in the group and not care about her at all after she debuts because your job is done, then like that to me feels wrong. Not only have you kind of not liked her for who she is, but you're also being a detriment for someone else who could have been in the group, right? And so like, and this isn't to say like anyone who voted for her should like then go out and like buy Kep1er albums like every comeback they have, but like I don't know, like as long as you're like going out and like looking, kind of still supporting her to a certain point, I guess that's good enough for me. Like, I mean, the rules of the game or the rules of the show was you vote for whoever you like. So like, she didn't cheat, she didn't do anything wrong. Her voters didn't do anything wrong. I didn't think she was like that anything great, and I wouldn't have put her in the final 9. But I mean, what can you do?
I think I agree with a lot of Dubious's points. I don't think that Huening Bahiyyih didn't really have a storyline like or at least one conventional like the other seasons, but it almost felt like her storyline was literally the last episode when she was like voted number 2,
Mm.
and that's about it. Um, as far as like my opinion of her throughout the show, she didn't really get much screen time. When she did, um, sorry to those who support her. I didn't think she was anything special, honestly. Maybe even below average. Not gonna lie. Um, but I don't think she did anything wrong. I agree on that point. She really didn't do anything wrong. She just did like she was just a participant. Um, I will disagree. I think the TXT, or I guess they don't like that name, the Together by Tomorrow
Mhm.
fans that voted for her just primarily based on the fact that she's Huening Kai's sister. I think they're all to blame.
Mm. Blame
Um,
in like, could you elaborate on that? Who do you might do blame?
so like I'm glad you brought up the point. Like, what's the point of like supporting someone when like you just vote them in, you
Yeah.
you wash your hands clean, and then you forget about that group? That's manipulation, like at its finest, basically. You're manipulating votes in a subject matter you don't care about, and then once you did the deed, you just walk off scot free.
Mhm.
I don't think they get enough blame, honestly. Um, it's weird to me how in most of the articles that pop up, people are arguing, oh, is it okay that Bahiyyih is in the group or not? As opposed to shifting the blame more onto TXT fans and those who enabled this like situation to happen.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
If we look at it objectively, um, okay, sorry, not objectively. So in my opinion, Huening Bai is in the group, right? That's done. She shouldn't receive uh, hate comments from netizens. Um, I think to the point where it's like, I don't think she should have been in the top 9. I think that's fair. That's just a that's a very slightly spicy opinion, and I think that's fine. Not hate.
Yeah.
Um, but she wouldn't be receiving this hate had she not been basically rigged in, right? That's why I think it falls mostly on TXT fans because I think it's just irresponsible. It's irresponsible because you play such a significant factor and a catalyst in a show that's already riddled with controversy and um a lot, yeah, controversy. And you basically I think they messed things up and they just bounced.
Mhm.
No responsibility on them, right? Because who's gonna technically blame them? Oh, they're just fans who voted, right? But they're not just fans who voted. They're people who don't care about the show, only care about one contestant because of their relationship to their alt group. And then after the fact, you just go back to your old group and you barely care about this show. Or sorry, not the show, the group. So, just to summarize my thoughts, the I don't think the Together by Tomorrow fans who voted her in, I think they're ultimately at fault in my opinion.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess for me, it really come. I'm gonna have to see. Like, I want to give like the people who voted for her at least some time to maybe prove that like what they did isn't like manipulative. You know,
Right,
like
right.
if they continue to support her, like even out of association of like what is it Together by Tomorrow? Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's fine. Like whatever. I mean, at least the group's doing well then, right? And
Mhm.
like if you like the member in TXT so much that you love his sister and
Right.
you're willing to buy her albums,
Mhm.
then okay, whatever. Like I don't really care. But
I
then
find
like
that kinda weird.
no, it's weird, but like whatever. It's K-pop. There's weird things, right? So like I don't mind. I mean, how fandoms think. It's really it's out of the ordinary. So if they continue to support her that way, I don't really care. And like I think then what they've done for me wouldn't be such a bad thing. But I'm just worried, like you mentioned, BM, that like that they might bounce. And if they've already bounced, then that to me I think is something that we should be pointing fingers at.
Hmm, I see.
Okay. Well, one of the reasons why we're so mad at some of these fans is I was going to be eliminated in the third round, or I'm sorry, in the second round, but she wasn't. She defeated the other person who got eliminated, which included Toa, right? And so many other girls that we liked also fell. And
Oh!
I guess like this is like one of the major topics for this episode that I want to talk about was like why did people not vote for like these kind of contestants, these ones that also had names to them, some kind of connections, some of them have industry experience, some that had like an actual story development, but pious fans pulled through while these ones didn't, I don't want to get you guys' reactions on, I guess, the fallen contestants.
Is it okay if I start?
Go ahead.
So originally I thought that Yeyoung just didn't make it, right? Just because of votes. But after learning of the fact of the earlier topic we talked about regarding companies intentionally buying out their prospects or reclaiming their prospects,
Oh,
it makes me wonder because she's in Blockberry Creative,
yes,
which
yes.
is under a lot of financial distress, apparent or um according to numerous news reports, right? Um but here's where it gets kind of weird. They started to promote Yeyoung
On
while
Instagram, right?
While Luna is in this situation where they're in this limbo where they don't know what's going to happen to them.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, we're going
So
full conspiracy now. All right.
yeah, we're
Go
going
ahead.
full
Yeah.
conspiracy. I'm
We're
putting on my
going deep.
tinfoil hat
All
and
right. All right.
let's go. So why I find it weird is I find it weird that they would promote this trainee right after so quickly after being eliminated from the show
I see.
while ignoring their very already established lucrative group, Luna, who uh they don't invest into. So that originally I thought, oh, she just voted out, right? But now I'm starting to like, conspire.
So
You know,
you think Blockberry was like, okay, we got to get a new girl group going. Let's just push her up to the second elimination round. Get her out.
um I will say that I wouldn't be surprised
Mm,
because um I think it's the perfect time to pull a girl out. They've had a couple stages so far. You're able to showcase your talent decently, right? You're in what, like, since it's the second elimination, it was like 7 to 8 episodes, right?
Yes.
I think it was 7. I think. So that's enough like screen time to get you like a decent following, and she was already decently established, I believe.
Wait, then I want to ask you: do you think that's the same with Cherry Bullet's company and Fanatics company? You think?
Oh.
You think they're like, okay, she's the center of Cherry Bullet and she's the center of Fanatics. We can't lose them. We could give Porta away. We could give some other girl away, but we can't give these guys. And that's what happened.
I honestly haven't thought about Mei and Toa in that light. Probably because I didn't like research on I didn't research on them as much, right? But now that I'm thinking about it, it makes sense to me why they would allow Mei to go so far. Actually pull her out after getting. Mei did get decent screen time too, and I believe she was one of the more popular contestants.
Yeah, in the beginning, I think she was pretty high in J.
Yeah,
she was J4 at the beginning.
As
Also,
insider,
BM, this is Chi1, by the way, but Mei is also similar.
Oh wait, this is Chi1?
This is Chi1.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
These pictures are very photoshopped, by the way.
Wait, cut that out. Cut that out.
No, dig in, you dummy.
No, wait, cut that out. No. Okay, anyway. So correction, Chi1.
Yes.
Same thing. I don't think it changes anything. Chi1 was rated high, right? She was well liked. So it makes sense for me to carry her on to whatever elimination that she went to. I believe it was second. And then pull her out. Because Cherry Bullet is not it's not the most lucrative group.
It's not, yeah.
Not the most popular group. But this is like a good like kind of like rug pull to like bring in exposure, and like because people are like, oh, no, people who had like G1 as their like ult, right?
Yeah.
In the show, their one pick. They would obviously follow her after the fact that she got eliminated, which would bring more exposure and popularity to Cherry Bullet. So yeah, conspiracy theory on. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a similar situation with like Yeon,
Do you think Mnet would allow for that? Like, because Mnet would want these girls, They wouldn't want like the second tier girls or anything like that.
I would think Mnet has a price,
Mm-hmm.
At a certain point, like you can't turn down a sweet deal. That's what I think.
Dubious,
I mean,
you can say.
Okay, wow, like we're going so conspiracy. We're actually doing this podcast out of Area 51. We're all aliens, by the way. But I think man, as much as I want to believe that there was nothing being done, like, behind the doors, like it's very easy for me to believe
Mnet.
that there was something going on. Yeah, it's like even with Toa, right? Like I think like I expected her to make it far because I thought she was very good in Produce 48, and when she came on the show, I thought she showed a lot of good talent. But then when she was not brought on for Planet Pass, in exchange for Sufyan, I think she was really good. I think she has potential. But then like, I'm like, would the instructors, when looking at either Toa or Sufyan, been like, let's go with the prospect versus let's go with who we've been praising for the past couple weeks already, right? If we're thinking about a final group, and I'm like, why would? I mean, I don't know. Like, was Suyeon the better pick? I mean, I think Suyeon's good. I'm not like the point I'm making is not to downplay Suyeon's potential, but like, why would they have done that, right? Which makes me think like, oh, then maybe they just dropped out on purpose. And I think for like what Mnet gets from that, like from that exchange, man, we're going so full conspiracy. But
no, let's do it. Yeah.
If what Mnet gets away from that, I think is like these girls have already debuted, or when we're talking about like T1 and Toa. So like for Mnet, it's like okay, first of all, we can debut new girls who maybe have more potential because now we know T1 and Toa's potential. Essentially,
right.
Like they've already debuted, and maybe they'll get far. Maybe their group will do better. Who knows? But like, they're not like they're not the next like it girl. Like we know that so far. But then like who knows? Maybe Chaeyeon will be. Maybe Hikaru will be. We never know, right? And then the other thing is like Mnet doesn't have to deal with these companies that already have, girls who are debuted in groups. So they don't have to deal with like the pressures from companies.
Yeah,
you know,
it's simpler.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, like, could we borrow her for like a month to do Fnatic stuff? Like,
Right,
they don't have to worry about that. Like the whole like cooldown issue that they had with IOI. So I don't know. I guess gun to my head, if you're like, do you think any of these girls were potentially taken out on purpose? Man, I guess I'll just have to say yeah.
Then I guess what about one girl who really did take a fall? Um, was she taken out, you think? Or do you think
Oh my god.
that she genuinely did not earn enough votes to make it in? Because she was number one in the 5th episode. And there's never been an instance where the number one drops out, So.
Well, correction, Colin was number one for a bit.
True, but she was rigged out.
Well, I think so. I believe so.
Yeah.
But yeah. Wait, to clarify, we're talking about Yurina, right? Well, I'm just
We're
assuming.
talking about the it girl, yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think BM should take this first. Because the one pick.
I see. I'm just gonna outright say I find it. I'm hard pressed to find that Yurina wasn't popular enough to make it into the top 9.
Oh, so you genuinely think she didn't have enough votes?
No, I'm sorry.
No, he's on the tinfoil hat.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense to me, I think. I don't think she's the type of girl where it starts to become single girl voting, people would drop her. Yeah, I mean, she has numbers to back it up. She has 600K followers on Instagram, not even debuted.
Right.
She was number 1. So I don't like throughout the show, right? She started off number 1, and I believe she maintained it.
She was like number 2 the next, but pretty much like up there, right?
Yeah, basically maintained it. Sorry?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, basically maintained it. So, all of a sudden, she's not even in the top 9. It doesn't make sense to me,
That's right.
It would have maybe made sense if she had made a mistake, or if some flaw of hers was exposed throughout like the show's recording and the scenes. Like not on stage and like in their dorms, whatever, etc., practicing. But nothing. Right? Nothing apparent.
Nothing
So
apparent.
what gives? Is my question. Like, how?
It
doesn't add up. I'm not a math guy, but the math doesn't add up, It just doesn't.
I remember at the beginning you were saying that you may have thought that her company didn't want her in.
Oh yeah.
Do you still believe that it was like her company, or do you think Mnet had something to do with it? Or...
Dude, how many more tinfoil hats can I wear?
I don't know, man. Your head's getting real heavy right now.
Yeah, I'll back off on that point. I don't know. I think it's possible. Especially if they didn't want her, if they want to push her more in like, Japan, right?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Like her backstory, just like really brief. She was a J-pop idol, but then she backed down and she went into acting.
Acting, yeah, I recall.
And then she did nothing, and then suddenly
came out on the show.
Yeah, she's in Korea. She's on the show.
Yeah. So at this point, Yurina's not in Kep1er, so she can either try to pursue K-pop in Korea or go back to Japan. I think it's plausible that her company like put her on the show just purely for promotion, pulled her out, and then now they can like take her direction into acting now that she has more popularity,
Right. Fans abroad.
Yeah, like I think it makes sense, like from a business standpoint. What about you, Dubious?
All right, so I'm gonna set my tinfoil hat aside for a little bit, and I'm just gonna talk about why, if there was no rigging, like why maybe she might have fallen out. Okay, this is my take.
Yes.
Um, I want to say first of all that she was my one pick for the first like several rankings or for several episodes. And then I think like near the end, like I think she dropped down to third. I think I had Cheon and Maeshiro in first and second, somewhere like that. And I was just thinking about like, oh, like I wonder why she kind of dropped out or dropped down a little bit in my own rankings, and it really had like less to do with her like messing up or anything or doing anything bad, but like besides that like one like combination mission where like she was made to be the main vocalist but she couldn't do it.
Oh, yeah.
Besides that one. But like for me, like that's not the reason why she went down. Like for me, I think it's because like people like Mashiro and Cheon like rose up in rankings for me. Um, and why I think that might have happened is because like in episode one, like she made a really strong like impression and impact. You know, like she was very pretty. And then like when she did fancy, like she was pretty solid, like in terms of like the skills that she showed.
Yeah,
And I think she was like
Enunciation.
yeah, and I think she was a very strong like she might have been a strong first pick, but I think she was also a very strong like second and third pick for a lot of people early on when the voting was, you know, where you could vote like 3 people. Um, but like I was looking at why I you know I was looking at some of the performances that she was in and why I think she might drop out and like so episode one fancy she was good, she stood out from the group. When they did the connect mission, which was she was in the how do you like that group, the people that stood out to me in that performance was shouting, Youngun, and even like Chai Bing.
Right.
Like she didn't stand out to me. Like
That's
oh sorry,
true.
when I say she I mean Yurina. When they did the combination mission, where she was supposed to be like the main vocalist, she didn't do that well. And I think the other Japanese trainee was essentially the main vocalist for that. And I think like Yurina kind of did more sub vocal stuff. So she didn't stand out for me there either. And then in the creation mission when she did Utopia, I felt like Yesan and Bora stood out. So like we can argue maybe or I can argue that maybe like the directors didn't like focus on her, but like it would have been really hard for me or maybe even like BM to like not notice her when she's like our first pick. So like we're freaking looking out for her in like every episode, right? Um but then like even then, like even while we're biased and looking out for her, other girls are raising up in my rankings. And I think it's because like she just didn't do enough. Like when she was first place, I think she kind of shied away. Um and then like just throughout all the challenges, like she never really stood out to me too much. And I'm looking out for her. That's like the crazy part, right? Um like Mashiro's winning like every challenge
That's right.
known to mankind. Um freaking like Tyon brought her mom out to the show.
That's right.
Like come on, like you gotta do something. But she was just solid. And I think that might have been the reason why, if there was no rigging that happened, why she might have dropped down rankings. But why she would have dropped down like 17 places or whatever, how many places she dropped down, doesn't make sense to me. But if the math stands, that might be the reason why.
I believe she went from like 4 to 11 or something.
All
12,
right.
11, 12.
What was the final rankings? Was she 12?
No, she was like 13, I want to say. 13 or 14.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's pretty bad.
Injung, I think I agree that it's fair. I think your point is fair. But ultimately, I think I agree where it's like, it's just really hard for me to believe that she dropped so many like rankings, you know?
Hmm.
It kind of just like boggles my mind. Do you have any thoughts on this, Insider?
I think, yeah, I think it'll have to do with the fact, as to what Dubious said, her biggest standout was in the first episode. If she had shown that kind of performance in the third round, I think she would have been in the group. But all of the shock and surprise and the It's Girl element seemed to come only from the first episode. And so she established the crown there, but there wasn't the development as compared to other competitors who were showing growth. So when it came to like one pick per nationality, she was behind Mashiro and Hikaru because those two were showing immense growth. And by the time it was like total one pick, yeah, like there's gonna be other people that you kind of saw grow in the past, like last 3 episodes. So it's natural for a lot of people, and especially back home in Japan, she wasn't even the most liked candidate. She was actually like pretty like far down on the list. Because apparently, like in her home country, they thought that she had kind of like she didn't fit the K-pop image. She fit more of like the J-pop image. Like legit, there were articles that said that.
Interesting.
And then some Koreans had pointed out that they prefer people like Bashiro and even like Chinese girl like Wenjo because they could speak Korean. And Koreans really want someone. Koreans really like someone who speaks Korean.
Did you say Wenjo?
Wenjo, the Chinese girl who got mad. Remember, she was like,
"Oh my gosh!
If you guys aren't gonna do this, I'm gonna leave." That girl.
She should have left.
Right, but Yurina didn't speak. Any...
Sorry, I have to say that.
Yurina didn't speak any Korean. It's so from Koreans and from Japan, her home country, she didn't win. And in places like America, like they want talent and like charm over anything. And there's people like Hikaru and Chai Bing who are winning in that category. So,
and then Mnet was like, "So Chai Bing, you want to be a leader again? What about trying to be a leader this time?"
Now that I think about it, the Utopia stage probably did not help her.
You think it hurt her?
I don't think it did any of the members in that group a favor.
I can agree. I think besides Bora, like, it didn't really.
Sorry?
You think the song was just too like average, or?
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's the fact that they didn't win. First of all, they lost out to You Plus Me Equals Love, right? Second of all, I don't know. This is purely from my point of view as a viewer. When I watched the Utopia stage and that mistake occurred, right? I believe on what is supposed to be like the standout like note of the entire song, I think that just overshadowed any of like the
You're talking about Chaehyun's missed line? Okay.
Yeah. I don't think I think it outshined any of the good like good good talent that the other girls displayed. Like if you ask me as a viewer, like what do I remember from Utopia? It's not the other girls. I don't remember anything from that song or stage except for Chaehyun's mistake. It's just such a jarring mistake.
When one girl stains it stains the whole group, right?
It's like Peekaboo and Cutie, like my.
Yeah.
And I don't wanna just pile on Chaehyun because I feel for her. It must be so tough and like I'm sure like she hates to think about it like even now. But yeah, as a viewer, it's just so memorable,
Yeah, I'm sure she loses sleep all the time knowing she got first place. And, and that one line she messaged, she's like, "Damn, I would trade that one line for his first place."
Dang, maybe we should trade names.
Okay, then I guess to finish off this episode, got one final thing is, I guess, who's one girl that you really wish we could have seen more? One girl that just like Mnet didn't show. Because obviously, like many of these girls we're never gonna see again, right? So I guess kind of like a one last look at a girl who deserved some attention but didn't get it. I guess I could start off with this one. One girl for sure that I think kind of deserved the attention was this girl up top right. Kamimoto Kotane. She was like the best rapper in the J group. And she did that one song, like she got Planet Past in the second round. And she even did that one rap song where she like included the lyrics about like how like I'm not getting any any airtime like mom, I don't want to go home, like that kind of thing. So she kind of like knew what was going on, and like the masters had planned past her because she was like the clear person to save, basically. And I feel like she would have fit in like the group of Kep1er. She could have fit in like the K-pop image. Like I think she's pretty. I think she's nice. She didn't get any kind of bad edits, but she was completely ignored. As the like.
She doesn't get any others. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that's how it happened. But she was also one of the Japanese girls that definitely did seem more outspoken. Again, this wasn't showed as much in the episodes, but like kind of in the training videos, you can see that happening. Yeah. So what about you guys?
Should I go?
Yeah, go.
Oh, okay. For your girl insider, I do like Kamimoto Kotune too. I thought she's great whenever she was on stage. I believe she was in Boombayah, right?
Yeah.
I want to say she was in Boombayah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And also in You Plus Me Equals Love, she was like great too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can see why like you gravitate towards her. I guess for me, it would be, if it's not Yeyoung, it would probably be maybe Ruan.
Oh, Ikemaru.
Yeah, he came
The
out
Ruan really grew on a lot of us, or
Yeah.
on all of us.
I do want to ask you actually, what made you grow to her? Because she was like a nobody in the first few episodes.
I literally saw her for the first time when she got Planet Pass.
Yeah, me too.
I think for me, it was just kind of just hit me like a truck, like just blindsided by her. Especially in shoot, she really grew on me after that. I thought she was just so like attention grabbing. I thought she was like so cute throughout the performance. Yeah, she was really impressive.
Could it also have been that I think one of the first times I officially saw her was when she did ice cream with Taeyeon.
Yeah, with Taeyeon, yeah.
And then Taeyeon like hard carried, and then she was pretty much like Ikemaruan, like I'm gonna carry you because you're almost eliminated. And I think that kind of created like the Kim Sejong like Soe kind of chemistry back in Produce 101, where there's like a older sister and a younger sister kind of thing. And I'm guessing that's why a lot of people gravitated towards her, because I don't know, she wasn't like the best singer or dancer or anything like that. Like I guess she was cute, but
yeah, I would say her best trait was probably her charisma on stage, if anything.
What about you, Dubious? Any,
so I actually really like Ririka on the left top.
Top left.
Early on, I think she was in the Yes or Yes B team. I think the team that lost. I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, she's really good. And I was like, oh, she's like the next like Hitomi / Nako, But then like they just never showed her again. I feel like.
Yeah.
And she just dropped down in the rankings. So it's not like I like loved her as a contestant, but like I would have liked to have her made it to the final 18. And this is kind of like a meme answer, but like honestly, one of the girls that gave me like the most laughs in the show was the girl. I forget what song it was. It might have been How You Like That, but like she was the girl that won the challenge for the baby picture picking, and then she picked all like the top girls, and then she got no parts. And then she was like the leader, I think, of that group. And then, and then as they were dividing the parts, like she got none of them, and she started crying.
Yudayon, I remember.
Was it Yudayon?
Yes.
Oh man, she was like, she gave me so much. She got
eliminated in the first round.
Eliminated, yeah. I was like, oh man, I wish she would stuck around because it was just so funny. Like I mean, like sorry, I'm like I'm just saying right now, just like having joy over someone's like demise, but like it was just so funny. Like you pick like the best people, and then you get frustrated because you can't like get any parts. I don't know. I wish she would stuck around a bit more.
Yeah.
No, I'll put in some of the clips from the show that we really enjoyed.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a yeah part, yeah.
Yeah.
그래도 살아남아야 되기 때문에絶対に生き残りたいです. 다른 안 돼요.
I love this right here. This is good.
なんでよ絶対に生き残りたいです踊るのなんでよ
Yeah.
絶対脱落しないのなんでよ
Oh yeah.
生き残りたいです踊るのなんで
Go,
よ
let's go.
絶対脱落しないなんでよ
Yeah.
生き残りたいですサラの前で言ってもね絶対に生き残りたいです踊るのなんでよ
Dude, the music.
絶対に生き残りたいです
The music's perfect. Let's go.
The last question to end this podcast episode off is, it's kind of clear that there wasn't we didn't feel gravitated towards these girls as much as we did in like Produce 48, and in a future episode we'll definitely be making this comparison as well. But I don't think any one of us really had like a top one pick or anything like that. And why do you think that? Do you think it's because the Korean contestants didn't have like a shiny like contestant like Somi or like Wonyoung? You know, there wasn't like a clear center. Or do you just think you guys are kind of getting a little tired of these kind of idol shows?
I can take this first. I thought I was gonna be tired, but I was not tired, dude. I was ready for another survival TV show. And this is part of the problem too, where you're like, oh my gosh, like Mnet rigged like Produce series. They're terrible, and then they release another show. I'm just like, what? They have no shame. I'm gonna watch it. You know, like.
Right.
So yeah, I'm part of the problem. Everyone, I agree. When I say everyone, I mean the 0 viewers. I'm part of the problem. But like, the reason I thought about this too, because when I watched Produce 101, I was very like invested in his homie, and then Produce 48, I was very invested in Sakura and the overall group. But like, there wasn't a very strong front runner for me this show. And maybe the producers just didn't do a great job of creating a front runner, but they also didn't have a lot to work with. I will say that. Like with Tomi, it was easy because you just say, hey, or first of all, it was like the first like show in the series, and you could be like, hey, she's a JYP trainee, you've seen her in 16, blah blah blah, run with it, right? In Produce 48, you're like, okay, we have Sakura and we have Yurina. At least that was like the first, and like Kaun, right? So like you could be like, hey, this is like the first like kind of like 1v1 setting that you could set up so people could take sides, right? With this show, it's like you didn't have like big people to attach onto in the beginning, and I think they tried it with like the whole like C1, J1, K1, and I think Yurina was like supposed to be the front runner, but then she didn't do a great job of it, and so I think like Mnet was in the process of trying to find who could kind of carry the show. I think they tried to use Taeyeon for a bit, and I think Taeyeon was fine. I mean, she did really good in like Ice Cream. She did very well in the following stages. They even brought her mom on the show, like. But yeah, I just didn't really get invested in any of them as much as I did with the previous shows.
Yeah. Any last thoughts?
I think for me it just comes down to, I don't think the contestants were as
Striking.
yeah, I guess striking is a good phrase or term to describe it. Not really as eye-catching as I watched through Produce 48. There's Hyewon, and there's Chaewon, Yuri. Nako's cute too. Just more girls, and that's just from Eyes One. But just I feel like so many more girls that just caught my attention. Yeah, probably just boils down to that.
Well, okay. This is officially the end for the first podcast regarding Girls Planet 999. We'll be having a second section, Girls Planet 999, regarding more about the general aspects of the show and kind of like the effects of it, and we'll be comparing it with other idol shows in the past. So thank you.
Yeah. If anyone actually watched till in the end, leave a comment below. We will not respond.
Cool. Sounds good.
Okay, goodbye everyone.